My name is Adrienne Montgomery. I'm with ERP VAR, and today we're so pleased to present two leading solutions for Acumatica, both certified Acumatica partners. We're going to be talking about retail management and integrated payment with two of those leading companies, Paya, which has recently been acquired by Nuvei, and One Retail. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Nick Hewer. He's the director over at Paya for the Acumatica product line. We are also joined by Jeremy Burt, who's going to talk about some new releases and additional functionality to add on to what Nick will be presenting. And Jerry Audell, he's the president of OmniChannel North America, and he'll be presenting on behalf of One Retail. A little bit about the companies here. One Retail, OmniChannel North America has been working with ERP systems for over 40 years in retail software design, development, and operations. The people of OmniChannel North America have over 70 years combined experience working with leading accounting applications, more of the older ones like Sage and then Acumatica now. They specialize in the point of sale system that is integrated into Acumatica and those other ERP systems for over 25 years. OmniChannel North America has much experience and understanding in what is necessary to fully integrate all the systems together, including payments and all the crucial functionality that goes into point of sale and omni-channel retail. OmniChannel North America grew out of an organization that was originally an ERP software reseller that specialized in point of sale on the Sage side. So it's grown over time and evolved into a full-blown retail point of sale and has gained a leadership in the industry. And they have hundreds of companies using their legacy point of sale systems, and they are well positioned to meet the future needs of point of sale. There's so many evolving requirements with cloud and mobile and keeping everything connected in the way of omni-channel. And so they're excited about taking on the new challenges as the software evolves through the internet and beyond. OmniChannel North America was formed out of the necessity to provide complete cloud-based retail solutions to mid-sized and larger customers worldwide. And they have followed the evolution of business software from core accounting to ERP and to extended ERP multi-cloud, and have adapted their business model to enable them to deliver retail systems to a whole new level. And then Paya is now a Nuvei company, and they have been a leading provider of integrated payment solutions and e-commerce solutions for many years. They have a foundation of robust integrations into front-end CRM and back-end accounting systems like Acumatica to enhance customer experience and workflow. With the recent Nuvei acquisition, Paya is part of now a Canadian global tech company, so they can bring those additional relationships in from a functionality, not only a functionality standpoint, but also to drive down those costs of credit card processing and accepting payments. So they accept and make the payments with ACH and Click2Pay, expedite receipt of money, and they increase operating efficiencies. Paya processes over 40 billion of annual payment volume across credit, debit, ACH, and check, and they are top provider of payment processing in the U.S., very well known, has great reputation, and now that they're combined with Nuvei, the top provider of payment processing in Canada, Paya serves more than 100,000 customers in healthcare, education, nonprofit, government, utilities, and B2B goods and services. So with that, I'm going to go and hand it over to Jerry, who's going to start with One Retail. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Okay. So I was, for my part of the presentation, we're focusing on One Retail, and plan to go over some of the different functions that are in OneRetail after giving a simple overview, a high-level overview of what OneRetail is and how it works. So let me just that. OneRetail is a point-of-sale system that was designed specifically for Acumatica. A very large part of OneRetail sits in the Acumatica desktop and is built with the SDK. We built it on the desktop to do this the management of the point of sale system as much as possible from within Acumatica, and then send data out on a as required basis to the different stores that may be part of the set up and using the application. We knew in the beginning that the whole omni-channel way of working was going to take over from the traditional way that retail systems worked. So OneRetail has a lot of omni-channel design influences in it, including one of the reasons that we developed it with Acumatica was because of the modularity of it and the fact that all of the touch points that you might run into in an omni-channel installation are available in Acumatica, and they're not in existence outside of the framework and the Acumatica application itself. In the omni-channel model, transactions can come in from many different places. Everybody knows about web stores and the influence that they've had on transaction processing, especially since COVID. But there are others like the order desks and mobile apps, and of course, phone and fax and other legacy ways of interacting with a given company. When we built OneRetail, it was designed from the beginning to do traditional point of sale and has a number of features that lend themselves to omni-channel processing. A key point in any retail system, especially one that is leveraging the cloud in some way, is to have the ability to work offline. And OneRetail has what I consider quite sophisticated tools and design influences that give us a pretty robust capability to work offline. And of course, an outbranching of that is the ability to do mobile transactions. With regards to the integration that we've done with Paya for credit card processing, in any retail organization that is based on stores, you have to have the ability to run card present transactions. And in case anybody isn't aware of the difference between card present and card not present, it's the whole concept of doing processing with a PIN pad. So as soon as you have a PIN pad, it opens up the world of tap and debit and credit card processing and all the things that you normally do when you buy stuff at a store that has a PIN pad. In addition to that, we've developed tokenization support with Paya, and that means you can put, do the credit card on file for your better customers and allow them to purchase without having to present a credit card. A very useful function if you have staff that are picking up products in the store and they don't need to carry a credit card to do that. In addition, OneRetail and Paya can process both linked and unlinked returns. And again, if in case anybody isn't aware of the difference, traditionally in retail, you would do it. You could do a return of a transaction just by bringing the products back to the store and reversing the original transaction. If you don't link that to the original invoice or the original transaction number, it's considered an unlinked transaction or an unlinked return. And that presents a lot of problems for credit card processing, potentially. There's risk in it and fraud and that sort of thing. And we've done a lot to mitigate that in our integration with Paya. So we do support both linked and unlinked transactions. And again, the difference is that in a linked transaction, you have to reference a original invoice. With regards to transaction flows, One Retail was designed from the outset to be managed from within Acumatica, and we leverage an immense amount of data from Acumatica. All of the taxes, customers, pricing, serial numbers, lots, barcodes, inventory, discounts, pricing, all of the data that you would use to process transactions makes their way into One Retail and is disseminated out to the stores to allow the transaction processing to occur. When the transactions are complete, they're sent back to Acumatica for further processing and integration into the accounting data and inventory data. And this is basically a recap of that. Data flows out of Acumatica to the One Retail workstations. Transactions are processed and they're sent back into Acumatica. And by doing processing this way, we can facilitate offline and mobile, as well as traditional retail processing of transactions. So that was a very quick overview. To anybody familiar with Acumatica, this should be familiar to you. We've added 2 menu items to the application, to the menu desktop in Acumatica, and these are the areas that make up One Retail. We're going to focus on the transaction processing side of things, but basically you can configure Acumatica, the integration to Acumatica for One Retail from this menu, and change the screens, some additional reporting to the reporting that exists already in Acumatica for inventory and customers and all of your accounting, reporting, etc. And then there's transaction processing. So again, the data that's in here is compiled and sent out to the stores, and then it comes back into the transaction processing area. So we'll be coming back to that. And once the data goes out, it goes out to eventually to a workstation. And I've loaded up the One Retail client here. I'm just gonna log in. And there are a number of different screen templates that you can choose for One Retail. This is the default one, and it has a layout with a lot of different buttons and options on it. I'm not going to spend too much time going through it, but the the basic transaction processing is deadly simple in One Retail. You can choose a customer or accept a default customer. You can enter an item or select by item class, different items that are available in the inventory. I can scan a barcode. I can search for an item by item number or some criteria on the items. And once we've selected the items, the transaction begins and processing is underway. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a couple of items first by clicking on the grid of items that's on the left-hand side of the screen. I could type in the word baby as an example and bring back a group of items. I could search any other way that I want to by and bring back an item to sell. And the items are going into a transaction grid or a list of the items is being built in the application. When everything is in, we can go to a payment screen and choose one or more payment types to process the transaction with cash, check, credit cards, on account if you are not a walk-in customer. So simple enough to do, and transaction is done. So the point of sale system is designed to process transactions very quickly and efficiently. We can handle high volumes of transactions when we're processing transactions in One Retail. If I chose to do a named customer, I can select a customer and then sell them again using the same search criteria or techniques. You can bring in items, and I can sell on account if there's a credit available, and or I can choose to process in other payment methods, using other payment methods. I can also do some things like returns. Once the transactions are entered, the transactions go into are stored here and go into a list of transactions that are processed. If I choose a transaction, I can click on it and do a return of the transaction, the whole or partial, and accept that. And by doing that was a linked return because I referenced an original transaction. And it'll only let me process using the payment method that was originally processing, the transaction was originally processed with. This option, of course, can be turned on or off. Some of the other things that we can do that are not immediately obvious. One Retail has the ability to process orders directly in Acumatica. So I can choose a customer and choose to do an order. And what this will allow me to do is to create an order in Acumatica without an invoice with or without a payment on it and without invoicing it. So very useful for creating orders when somebody phones in from the order desk, a special order, a layaway. And once this is entered, or once we press enter, I can choose to put a deposit on it or not. Put a small deposit. And that transaction will be sent to Acumatica directly. So if I go ahead and reload Acumatica and go into the retail transaction processing area, we can see the transactions that we've done. And from here, they can be set up either manually processed or set up on an automation scheduler in Acumatica to process them further. The transactions come in on a schedule that is defined by the user. So you can have this as frequently as a minute or less. Now we can go below a minute. And that's if I look at the process transactions, and we did a couple of layaways here just now, and the layaway is a retail way of basically saying it's a sales order. From our perspective, that's how we view it. So it's effectively a sales order that has not been invoiced, and it sets up an order in Acumatica directly. As if it was entered in Acumatica, and all of the taxes and anything that was set up to be processed for your order processing system will be taken into account here. But the intent is to, of course, to set up the order, a special order. You can link it to a PO now, or generate a PO, sorry, and when the product arrives back or makes its way to the warehouse, it can be completed in Acumatica. Or if we go back into One Retail, and I chose the same customer, I think it was 8 bar 10 weeks, orders can be pulled back from Acumatica for completion in the POS. So sales orders are generated in Acumatica from a web store or manually entered or whatever. But for this customer, these are the open orders that are in existence in Acumatica. And we can take them and view the details, which will let me see what's there and process them. There's something that's blocking it, so I'm going to just try another one here. One that was created in One Retail. And I can invoice it, accept a payment on the order, and complete it from the POS. And print out an invoice or a document at least of some form that you can give to the customer. And it could be a sales slip or an 8.5 by 11 form. Some of the other things that are going on with One Retail and are relatively new is we have the ability to go out to a customer and get an immediate update on their credit availability. This is going live to Acumatica for this customer and checking the credit limit and available credit for the customer. So before you begin a transaction, you can also check it. And the same thing happens when we process a transaction and we want to do it on account. So it goes into the AR instead of having the customer pay at the till. When the transaction is processed, it checks the credit available live from Acumatica to make sure the customer has available credit to process the transaction. And that's obviously very useful. We can also look up stock and check the item availability. We've got a credit check and we've got the customer. Now we need to know if the stock is available, and I can check this real time as well. And it'll go out and find any stock in any warehouse that for this item. And if we click on the warehouse, we can see the available quantity by bin location or warehouse location. And it gives you enough information so that you can sell from a particular warehouse location, which again is quite a nice feature. Some of the other things that are here, in addition to the core retail transaction processing that you would expect, sales and returns. You can generate quotes that go out to Acumatica as Acumatica quotes. You can do orders from the POS. We can do a prepayment on the customer's account. We can pay a specific invoice, and we can do a cash paid in and cash paid out from the till, or a no sale, which is opening the cash drawer with a transaction attached to it to log the recording of that. But if I'm doing a transaction, and we do support partial payments, so you can have multiple. You can pay by any number of payment types as you need to, and including credit cards and mixing credit cards and cash. And the other one that everybody asks about is we have the ability to do something called a mixed transaction. And if I go ahead here and put in a negative, we've got a positive and a negative entry in one transaction, and the POS will allow that to be processed. And it's for doing returns, primarily if somebody comes in and wants to exchange something or do a return and then pick up a different product or something. We can support that. And what it does, just waiting for that to go positive, and should be in Acumatica. This is set to send transactions back every minute.
So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nick, if that's okay with you. And I'm sure we'll have lots of questions for One Retail. So.
Right. So as you just saw, we do have a fully integrated solution for One Retail as well as Acumatica. What that means is that you can process, just like Jerry walked you through, you can process credit card transactions directly in One Retail. We worked with One Retail to help them provide and build in our integration. You can also process directly with inside Acumatica. And one way that we help automate that is what I'd like to demonstrate here now is our bank deposit feature, and it helps to automate the reconciliation of the funded batches from credit card gateway to act directly in Acumatica. So let me bring up here, we're going to start a new deposit. In just a few clicks, you'll be able to see that here that you can easily reconcile the transactions from the gateway, whether they came from both either Acumatica or from One Retail. So here you see a bank deposit. We're going to select the cash account or our deposit account. We're going to select a date. We're going to select the processing center or location. So the processing center is a one-to-one relation to the merchant account in the gateway. So if you have multiple locations, maybe multiple retail stores, You'd have a separate processing center, and these would be separate batches in the gateway, and you would just duplicate it for each of the locations. So here we're going to enter a reference number. We're going to save. So where our integration comes into play now is here with our load transactions. So once I select load transactions, this is going to go out to the gateway, grab the transactions detail from the funding report, and match it up automatically to all the payments that exist in Acumatica. So we're eliminating the need to manually match the payments. It's doing it for you. You notice here it's running both in this location. It's running both one retail transactions as well as credit card transactions that were done in Acumatica. Again, eliminating the need to process multiple times. It gives you totals and amounts and variances. So it also breaks down any charges. So at the end of the month, if there's any credit card fees, they'll be automatically updated and added here and set to the expense account related to any of the bank fees. Sometimes inside those charges, it could be additional fees. And we've noted that here in the notes, a breakdown of the fees. So in this case, there was a chargeback and a third-party adjustment. We give you a breakdown of the fees. But most importantly, we give you an exceptions tab. This would be a scenario where a transaction was funded in that funding report, deposited in the account, but during our load transaction process, it couldn't find a corresponding payment in Acumatica. So in this scenario, we provide all the details from the gateway to make it easier for you to find out find which transaction and what happened. In this case, this transaction was transacted outside of Acumatica, outside of a one retail environment. Somebody entered a transaction directly in the gateway and they didn't record it in Acumatica. So these scenarios do come up, but it's as simple as taking the payment ref and running a record transaction to sync that payment directly into Acumatica, and then you'll be able to add it to the bank deposit and release and update financials. This eliminates a lot of the manual entry and manual back and forth and gives you the tools you need to find any exceptions or issues that may arise. Right? So as you saw here, and as you saw before with Jerry, one retail fully integrated with the credit card processing. But you can also perform a lot of those functions directly in Acumatica for maybe B2B or other transactions where you're not necessarily using the front of the house or point of sale environment. So one way we also help, an additional way we also help in automating things for credit card processing in Acumatica is we provide a nice process flow with a feature we call Capture for More. So in an environment where you have sales orders and you're taking a pre-authorization which is a hold on the funds, and then you're going to process that sales order, you're going to ship it, and then maybe you add freight at the shipment. So it's going to change the amount. And then you're going to invoice, and because it's a pre-authorized payment, it's not fully captured, it's just a hold. At the time you invoice, you're going to capture. But we need to capture for the amount, including the freight that was added. So we've automated that capability with the feature that we once enabled in our integration called Capture for More that will do all that for you without any intervention. So here you see I have a sales order. The sales order is ready to take payment. See it's waiting payment. So on the inside Acumatica, I'm going to go to Payments tab. I'm going to select Create Prepayment. So here I'm going to leave our defaults in here, except for I'm going to change our payment method. We're going to select our credit card payment method. So here we can process stored cards. This customer does have a stored card on file, but we're going to enter a new card. So I'm going to select new card. And again, we're going to authorize. This is not a financial transaction. It's just an authorization, temporary hold on customer's card, ensure the funds are there. So we're going to select authorize. So it's going to start our processing here. And then here in the pop-up window, we're going to have some options depending on how your Acumatica integration is configured. So in scenarios where you have credit card terminals, you'll be able to select the terminal and run this through a terminal. But here we're going to select and we're going to enter the card manually. If you do have terminals, you can select the terminal here and then activate the terminal and run the card. So I'm just going to enter a credit card detail, enter our expiration date, CVV, then I'm going to select save. This is going to go out to the gateway. It's going to gather the details. It's going to put a pre-authorization temporary hold on the customer's card. And it's going to update our sales order so that we can now continue working with it. So once our Acumatica is updated, you'll notice our status here will change. Our prepayment is already being created and added to the sales order. And now our sales order is open and we can continue processing. So for people who are familiar with Acumatica, this is standard process in Acumatica now. So we're going to create shipment. And once our shipment screen comes up here, we're going to add some freight. My system's decided to run a little slow today. I apologize. So we're going to go and we're just going to add, I'm going to set some terms in here to default. Some freight. So we're going to add $15 in freight. We're going to confirm our shipment. And now we're going to process this further. So we're going to go to prepare invoice. So because I have Capture for More enabled in this environment, we're going to have the option here at the sales or in the sales order invoice to additionally capture the payment. Once we have our invoice on our applications tab, you'll notice our pre-authorized prepayments followed through onto the invoice. And we have an unpaid balance of $15. So we have an authorized amount of $220. Our sales invoice is in a pending processing status. And you notice here we have auto capture for more selected. All we have to do in this scenario is select capture. And this is going to automatically update the payment amount to the balance of the invoice, capture that amount and apply it to the invoice without any intervention, any additional steps. Once we process here, our invoice will open to or set to the balance status, and we can release and process further. Before I do that, we'll just look at we're going to drill into our payment. And here's our payment. It's now open. Processing status of the gateway is captured. And if you look at our card processing tab, you have the additional history of what happened here. So you have you can track the ability that you authorized for this amount, but you captured for this amount. It shows the dates and then the corresponding transaction reference numbers from the gateway. So fully integrated, this payment can be voided, refunded, just like any other integrated payment that you've done inside Acumatica. I simply just release our invoice and it'll close. We do offer this functionality in batch processing as well. So if you're shipping, you're creating pre-auths on the sales order, again, and this all can be done in batch processing. That sales order can ship, they confirm it, add freight. At the end of the day, you have 5, 10, 100 sales orders or shipments to invoice. You invoice, and then there's a separate processing screen for also capturing the pre-auths in batch, so you don't have to do them one by one. So this is a little insight into just two of our features that we offer within our integration. We have a lot of additional features that I would love to go over with you in more detail, but unfortunately, I don't think we have that much time on this call. I think we're coming towards the end here, but we would happy to set a reach out and we can do a one-on-one demo at any time with anybody. And go over any one of our additional features. We do have functionality that we call Click2Pay, where you can send links off of sales orders for customers to pay and enter their credit card details directly on their own without having to enter details in Acumatica. It also provides a customer portal where they can maintain all their sales orders, quotes, invoices. We do allow that same processing on quotes in Acumatica. So where Acumatica doesn't allow payments on quotes, we do. We also provide up in the customer portal ability for them to pay multiple invoices, apply credit memos to those invoices, apply debit memos, and send payments directly from customer portal. We also have additional features, again, that we would be happy to show in a one-to-one demo for fee recovery for scenarios where you're looking to pass along fees on anything, any credit card payments. We do have a solution that provides that. So I want to take a minute here and hand this over to Jeremy Burt, who's going to go over a few more details about some of the few little screenshots on some of those additional features, as well as a little bit more insight on the credit card gateways and the onboarding processes.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Nick, and thank you, Jerry. I'll make this quick so you guys have some time for questions. You know, there's a ton of depth that with the time that we had that Jerry couldn't get into, and I know Nick, you know, couldn't get into. I know they would like to, and I'm going to touch on that briefly. One little thing that I thought was really cool that came out of a customer request that Jerry had that we were able to solve was they actually wanted to use in sort of a B2B workflow scenario where you have a wholesale side of your counter using the point of sale. If I'm to send basically down an employee without a card, to be able to run a transaction through the point of sale with a stored card out of Acumatica, we enabled that capability. Obviously, you need to know your customer, and there's some controls and various things, but we do have some conveniences. And so rather than going to on account and having to wait or bill for that through one of our other, you know, payment methods or through Click2Pay, you're able to actually get that retail style transaction now, get paid in your batch like you would normally expect, speed up cash flow, but yet the convenience of the owner allowing somebody to come down and charge on account. So it's a win-win. So here, I just want to reiterate, a lot of folks have known Paya and known us in the space for many years. You know, from Nick to Rebecca, Jerry, we've all been out there. A lot of folks know who we are. But what Nuvei's bringing to the table for us is virtually unlimited alternative payment types. Those are what our teams are going to be working in over the coming months. You know, honestly, probably for the next year and a half, you're going to see a lot of steady releases of alternative payment methods and us going into global markets. The global markets, we're going to move into Canada right away, but you're going to see us actually through NCP, the Nuvei Core platform, move into many global markets within Acumatica, which is going to be very good for everybody involved. And there's also a lot of stuff behind the scenes if you are a global processor where we can move money through the foreign exchange process where we can fund in other countries in their currency. So those are some of the roadmap items that you guys will see, but just I think that gives you kind of the scope of the AR side of it. We are also going to be dabbling very rapidly in the payable side of it. And so you guys will see all the way into the banking and issuing. So a ton of capabilities that we are going to be bringing out throughout this Nuvei relationship, and what I should say ownership. So you guys saw a little bit about the integrated payment process. I think it's important to know that, and what we talk about the one-step authorization and capture, it's the old style obviously was go out to your gateway or run it through a credit card terminal and then go post it into your accounting system, right? So that's what we're referring to in the one-step process that we're solving for. What you're going to see in most of our integrations is that we're extending all of that credit card integration holistically to anywhere that you need it. You guys just saw cash drawer management full retail from Jerry. We also have a counter sale process that if you're going to be working at, it could be a sales counter in the back it could be a rental counter, it could be, obviously just a wholesale distribution counter where a walk-in contractor needs to be able to sign on a credit card machine or some signature device, which we enable our credit card machines to be signature device. It may not involve the full retail front-end experience. Our same devices work with our integration to allow you to collect cards literally at the point of sale, but without cash drawer management, without full point of sale features. And we also work in field service. We work in quotes. We work everywhere that you want to take payments. And so it's up to you guys to reach out with your consultant or reach out to us about your particular use case and flow. If we haven't got it solved, we're probably not far from building out something that works for you. So that's something I just want to reiterate and encourage people to reach out and talk to us about what your needs are and get a full in-depth demonstration. Click2Pay is just that always-on CSR, that customer service representative that is allowing your people to have access to all of their documents 24/7. I think we all know as business owners, it's nice to say that we're 8 to 5 and that that's when we work. But a lot of times in the B2B world, business owners are getting to their documents in the evening, and for them to be able to log in and see everything in a portal and pay one, pay all, apply their credit memos, and so on and so forth. Now, if you are one of those just-in-time manufacturers and you want to be able to have them accept a quote or take a prepayment or pre-authorization, we do have the pre-authorization workflows now. That's something that we just rolled out as well. So the captured sale is more of that typical e-commerce experience that you've got something on that you're going to order send out, or it's something that you've already billed them for and you're doing collections. But now for those manufacturing folks, we do have that pre-auth workflow, which is really a fantastic improvement. But Click2Pay is something that also handles that fee side of it. So if you are trying to offset fees, we can handle that as well. Just a quick glance at it. What we have highlighted up here on top is essentially that payment link. So if your customers are dealing with, they can generate a link on the fly by hitting the button to do so, and they can literally drop this in an email, or you can use your standard email process and workflows inside of Acumatica. But basically, they're going to get a link. I don't think portals are groundbreaking. We all use them in our day-to-day lives, right? So you're essentially getting totals at a glance, or you can get that attached PDF, but they can pay it, and all of this synchronizes back in real time. Back into Acumatica. Most people are set up for a scheduled sync. We can do a real-time webhook, just for clarification there. Great product, lots of users on it, very stable and very extensible. So that is there for you guys as well. Again, there is a roadmap for all of this beyond global. As you're seeing here, the fee recovery side of things, as far as what all the add-ons that we're doing. And then the CRM integration is something that we're working on, not just the quote, service quote, but the CRM quote. And then again, I will say on the service order, on the work order side of it, the stock payment workflows in the field service is something that we support. What we're trying to extend in there is the ability for them to send out a payment link. I think, keep me honest up there, Nick, of exactly what's happening there on the service order. But I think we want to be able to initiate the payment link from that service order. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we already do work in service order with inside payments, just like any other, just like you saw in creating a payment in Acumatica. We also work currently inside the mobile app with the payment, but this is adding functionality to be able to generate the link from a service order or appointment.
Yeah. And I think as a consumer, if somebody sends you a link and you open up and pay on your phone, I think we all understand how convenient that is. So it eliminates the need for hardware in the field. There are some verticals where people don't know their customer or are not tied to them, where they want to take a chip card, and that's something that we can discuss on ways to solve for that in the field with different devices. But economically, doing the customer initiated payment link is most of our recommendations. So, and then the notifications for advanced customer interactions, that's really around the concept of right now, you're firing off a link and they get it and they can interact with it. Most customers will. What happens in that segment of business where the customer doesn't? So the notifications and more features and functions there is something that we're bringing in. So I'm going to kind of skip through this. We've got a lot of benefits. Reach out to us if you guys, need any more one-off, questions about software, payment capability globally, US, Canada, and we'll definitely work through this with you. But we have a ton of horsepower, a ton of options right now, just not a ton of time. But I will say that the pay by statement's coming. This team has a steady roadmap built out for the rest of the year of a ton of stuff that we do. We do some custom one-off development when asked by our partners. We try to make sure that we're not stepping on any toes by anybody. Some of these are around payments, and some of them touch some of the customizations outside of payments that we've done for people based on the way the consulting firm has asked us to work with them. So we do a little bit of everything there. So I want to open it up for Q&A. Obviously, we're running a little bit short on time, so I'm going to jump into that here and see if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm going to go ahead and flash up the contact information quickly here. So you should see that now. And we look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.